Welcome to the Sarah Scoop Show. It's time to get the scoop with Sarah.
Hi, I'm Kevin McGarry. I play Nathan Grant on When Calls the Heart for the last 3 seasons. So at the end of season 7, I think we saw Nathan embraced by Elizabeth running to him and embracing him in her arms, just after she found out that he didn't die in a prisoner transfer. Lucas from the saloon saw the whole thing, didn't bode well for the triangle on that side. And that's kind of where we left things in season 7, was this, there was this hesitation between Elizabeth and Nathan. They kind of didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things. Nathan had this kind of these pent up feelings for Elizabeth, and he wasn't able to express himself properly. And I guess there was something there, and Elizabeth just saw that Nathan didn't die at the end and embraced him. And that was the last moment that we had on season 7. I've said this day one, and I'll continue to say this, that Team Hickam is just, you've got this bachelor roaming the town for 7 seasons. Like that, there's your guy right there. All the mysteries that is Team Hickam, he's got my vote. My favorite, I think some of the favorite storylines I've had, I think I really liked Nathan's storyline with his father. I thought that was a really nice kind of difficult kind of through line to follow, that, you're trying to protect Allie from this man, but at the same time, he wants to forgive him. So I think that wrapped up really nicely, and Michael Hogan did a great job playing my father. So I had a lot of fun with that one. I really like working with Aaron in a lot of the scenes. The one that gets like notoriety is the cabin scene where we're kind of like fighting, and maybe I raised my voice a little, but I really like that scene because there was so much kind of underneath it, that wasn't being said. The frustration of seeing her with Lucas, and the frustration of kind of these pent up things that he wants to tell her. And I will say, kind of going into season 8, we find out more of maybe what he wanted to say that day, that he didn't. So that was great. I mean, there was just, it was a fun scene to kind of play a little fiery against kind of the romantic backdrop that show is so much. It was nice to kind of have the passion there, but it wasn't so like roses and candles. It was just more like, oh, I'm just like, I've got all these feelings for you, and I'm glad you're not dead. Like that, I'm so worried about you, and I care for you so much. And it was fun to kind of express it that way. Yeah, it's like it's the Notebook. It's the Ryan Gosling, Rachel McAdams. Like, what do you want moment, back and forth. So it's nice to kind of have that passion. Sometimes it's not just so, love you, which is great. The romance is great all the time, but it is nice to have the passion come out in other ways. Well, I've said in other interviews that Nathan, I mean, he kind of comes pretty strong out of the gate at the beginning of season 8. I think the near-death experience that he had at the end of season 7 shook him, and shook his priorities in sight. And he's much more confident of the things that he wants and what he's willing to give up to get them. So it's kind of a 180 from what Nathan has been, how he's been being portrayed in the last 3 seasons. And then the other big thing that we find out with Nathan is why he has been like that in the last 3 seasons. There's so many things I read about Nathan, his attributes of being so shy and everything, but very few people are wondering why. And there's a really good answer to why he's been like, it's not just because he's really only like this with Elizabeth, like he's not as shy with anybody else in town. So there's something there that will poke its head out in season 8. I'd say my favorite part with Nathan, the parts that I really like, is kind of, and something that is not I could work on as Kevin is his discipline. His discipline to do the right thing. Like there's no question in his mind ever what's the right thing and what's the wrong thing. And again, it's a funny juxtaposition to him raising Allie with him thinking he's got the right answer and her constantly, kind of making him second guess some of these things, how he's been living his life. And not only Allie, now it's starting to get into the town's starting to bleed in. Elizabeth challenges him a little bit, Bill challenges him a little bit. And, what's fun with Nathan is he thinks he's got all the answers and he doesn't. And the town is making him better. And I've said it before, Elizabeth, like he needs Elizabeth, but I think to expand upon that, like the town makes him a better person. And that's the great thing about, being an actor, finding these characters that have these flaws and allowing the other characters in the show to let them go on a journey to become a better person, to learn something. And Nathan's changed so much in the last kind of 3 seasons as he's been accepted more into that town. Coming in as a new Mountie, like there was a lot of hesitation to take this guy in because he was the guy in the new red surge around town, and everyone was thinking about Jack, and so he has that on his shoulders, and it's been nice to see him be affected for the better by Hope Valley, and all the characters. With Nathan, I've been able to, maybe the dad jokes, as I get older, with the glasses and the mustache that I have on right now, the Ned Flanders look, I feel like maybe we have similar dad jokes sometimes, or I've been trying them out a bit more. We're not exactly, we're not that similar in real life. Like I said, I wish I had his discipline sometimes. But yeah, maybe the dad jokes. So my story for how I got Nathan, again, Chris read for everybody in Hope Valley. I just read for Nathan, but it was, kind of in the stars, I guess, that I even got him because I was doing another show at the time, and they were accepting tapes. So I put on a tape for Nathan. And then I was kind of working on this other show, and then I got a call that they were like, "Hey, can you put this on tape again? Or here's a new scene." So I was like, "Okay," put on the new scene, and then I got a call, and they said, "Hey, can you fly to LA? And we want to make you kind of read with Aaron for a chemistry test." And I was like, "Okay, let me ask the show." So I asked the show if I can leave, and they say, "You're shooting that day." I'm like, "Come on, like this is the show down the road." And they're like, "No, we can't let you out." So I had to say that I couldn't get out. And they were like, "Okay, well, thanks so much." And then we didn't hear anything. And then I got a call maybe a couple of days later, and they said, "Hey, can you do a Skype chemistry read with Aaron?" And I was like, "All right, I've never done that before, and I can't see how that's going to be beneficial, but let's do it." So then, like this interview we're doing right now with the phone. This was pre-pandemic. This was, I was doing the pandemic auditions before there was a pandemic. And so I'm in the hotel room and I've got the phone set up, and then Aaron calls in from what looks like a bunker, 40 feet underground. And she's looking, so the camera is set up, but there's my face where she is, there's a camera, and then there's a projection screen, and my face is on the projection screen. And of course, she's acting to my face on the projection screen, but the camera is getting her from the side. So I'm acting to the side of her face. And to me, the whole thing was terrible. Like this is not good. There's no, how can you see chemistry with this? And they're like, "Okay, great, thanks so much." And as it's turning off, I can hear other people are like coming in for the read. I'm like, "Oh, I don't want to see other auditions." So that ended, and I was like, well, that was that. And then I got a call after I wrapped the block of the show that I was working on. They're like, "Hey, will you fly in? Actually, we can see you later." So then I flew in, and it was just Aaron and I, and a couple of the executives, and the showrunner at the time, and we did a scene. And the first time, it was terrible. There was somebody in the hallway getting ice, and it might have taken them like 7 minutes to get ice out of, like, I'm trying to do this scene with her, and you hear and so we finished the scene, and everyone was like, do you want to do it again? And I was like, please, yes, I'd love to do it again. And then that was the one that I was like, oh, there's something here. And then, I got in the car and headed back to the airport, and an hour later, my agent called and said, do you want the job? So. I was aware of it because in Canada, the show, I'm on a show called Heartland, and it plays on the CBC, and When Calls the Heart plays just before it. So I would see the last 10 minutes of it if I was kind of tuning in. To be fair, I don't really watch myself a lot. I don't like it. I'm constantly judging my own choices. So it's not my favorite thing to do. I don't even, like, honestly, when we're talking about some of the scenes, I'm just remembering that, like, it's not, I don't watch a lot of it. It's not my thing. I have no problem watching other people's scenes, but not a huge fan of watching myself. So once I got the job, I thank God they were on Netflix, that you're able to kind of binge watch the first little bit. And it was interesting to see how that show progressed, really, from season 1 to, season 5, I think that was on there, just everything, the shooting style, the colors, how, it was grittier, I think, in the first season. And some of that, I liked some of that. And, I hope that some of that gets brought back as we move forward into these new seasons, where there's sometimes just more at stake, more higher stakes, I think. And there's, I mean, season 8's got pretty high stakes, and things start coming in that are pretty dangerous for the town and harder for the town, because if you think about it, the timeline, the Industrial Revolution is right around the corner, and that town is just a small prairie town, like it's, the machines are coming, and there's a lot of great stories that could be told in Hope Valley. Well, the first costume fitting, I actually have a picture of. I probably won't, it's because it looks so bad. It's those jompers, the pants were so baggy, and I don't, the Mountie design, for one, is not camouflage. There's that Mounties are not sneaking up on anybody wearing a giant bright red stop sign. The pants had to be taken in, I think, just for aesthetic effect. The boots are hell. Like, it's a thing to get in and out of them. But once they're on, I think the boots actually is what makes me feel like Nathan the most, kind of walking around, and they just kind of have a weight to them. I do miss, though, wearing the cowboy boots, because it's easier to get in and out of the stirrups on the horse. It's harder for me on those Mountie boots. But yeah, the boots have some weight, and the serge, it's almost like a suit from the early 1900s, because you have to stand straight at attention on that thing. Like, it pulls your shoulders back. It doesn't breathe. It's too hot in the summer. It's too cold in the winter. I'm pleading for a winter jacket this year if we do a Christmas movie. But it is, to put it on, it's iconic, and it's, to be a Canadian suit and wearing something like that, such an iconic Canadian symbol, is really special. And I've got family who's in the OPP, the Ontario Provincial Police, and it's kind of nice. I mean, I'm not a police officer, but it's kind of nice to give that nod, to the police of Canada. They keep telling me to shine up the boots. Those boots are too scuffy. They need to be polished more. Oh, hey, I don't know. I think so. I grew up. Yeah. Well, I mean, and I think you kind of have to learn to get rid of the O's and the do. You know who has a really strong Canadian accent on the show? Is Pascal and Kevin. They're always like, oh no, Jay, oh. And they're both Alberta. And I grew up in a small town in Ontario, and very similar to the show Letterkenny. I don't know if you're familiar with that show, but they're all like, "Oh, McGarry, eh? Oh yeah, how's that guy doing? Eh? He's having a rip." So I can like get back into it if I need to. There is a strong rural Canadian accent. I think in the cities we're pretty multicultural in Canada, but rural Canada, oh yeah, it's there, eh? There's in the Great White North. This is how people talk, eh? I hear it. My dad, anyways. He's oh no, and it's funny. We get told all the time when you're auditioning, they're like, must have an American accent, and it's like, what does that even mean, an American accent? The Californians to Texas to the Boston, and then the Bronx or the Brooklyn and New York. It's just accents across the board in America. So I think it's great. I don't know why we're trying to just get it out of our, vocabulary, but whatever. Oh yeah, there is some big moments coming up. Aaron and I have been pushing for a storyline since I joined, and we get to do it, and I think there was a couple on here, and actually, like John Tinker, the showrunner now, he's really mixed kind of things up a bit too. Like it is not so bread and roses. It's there's some troubles happening. Like even looking at something like Jesse and Clara, like getting married last year. This season focuses a lot on the hardships of like marriage, the first years of marriage, and getting to know what it's like to live with somebody. And like as far as me, we especially near in the final episode, John was very open to our ideas and everything, and we kind of worked together on this one scene. I got to like rave a little bit about it. It was cool. So that was really fun to do that. It's one of my last scenes, and it was great. I really had fun with doing that one. And like I said, Aaron and I have this storyline that we've been working, and it's like sprinkled a little, like you get it like little fire, big fire throughout the season. And yeah, it's great. The storylines in this season, I'm very excited to see how they go over. No, I had no idea about the fan base of When Calls the Hearties, and how passionate they are too. And it's so nice to be part of a storyline that people care about so much, and whether you're Team Nathan or you're Team Lucas, and I've said this before, that it's just, I feel so lucky to be able to give a storyline, to give entertainment to people in this time right now where like people are passionate about the show and her happiness and who is best for her. And like things change down the road. You have no idea what might happen, might get undone down the road, but it's just great. Like it doesn't, I see those Team Nathan, Team Lucas and the comments on both. It doesn't bother me. Like, to me, it's like sports. Like, you're cheering for your team, and like my job is done when I take off the boots and I leave, and it's just a character. And some of them, everybody's right with their things that they think they should be this person or this person. It's just so great to give entertainment and I don't want to say distraction, because it's not a distraction, but just a passion. It's so great to give a passion to people, and the Hearties are one of the most passionate people I've ever met. The last show that I binge watched, I'm kind of binge watching. You know what? Actually, it's kind of a crazy show. It's called The Nick on HBO. It's Clive Owen is the surgeon in Brooklyn, or in New York, Manhattan, Lower Manhattan, in the early 1900s, about the same time as our show. And the surgeries that people were doing in the early 1900s, it's a great show. First of all, I think the acting is incredible in it, but it's about a hospital running in Lower Manhattan in 1905, 1910, something like that. And it's intense and very good. I mean, the acting is incredible in it. So I'm just finishing that one up. The last thing that I did, I was able to kind of get over and do a few episodes of Heartland, which is the other show that I do. Lucky enough that I was able to kind of, figure that out in this time. And no, since then it's just been kind of taking it easy. In January, there might be some stuff coming up, but nothing definite. No contract signed or anything yet. But nothing yet.
Thank you for watching The Sarah Scoop Show. Head to sarahscoop.com for more.